Welcome to Tea Talks. Again, I'm super happy today, our second episode for Tea Talks. And I'm very pleased to have an external guest today coming from Ajman University, Mr. Mohsen Abu Bakr. He's the director of Masar Career Excellence. Hey Mohsen, how are you today?
I'm good, Karim. Thank you for inviting me.
Super excited to have you on board. I think today is going to be a very exciting episode. We're going to talk about the relationship between universities and the workforce and how to prep the students. And I know we've discussed we're going to be a bit controversial today. So
We'll try.
I love it and we're welcoming this. Mohsen, if you don't mind a bit telling us about you and what is the director of Masar Career Excellence does.
Okay. So I joined Ajman University about 18 months ago now.
Okay.
I moved over from London and I've been in the higher education space for over 10 years. And my remit now with Ajman University as director of Masar Career Excellence is to find a way that supports students and graduates transition into the world of work and define their own success, whatever they choose that to be. So, and that means for students of all programs, all disciplines, regardless of what they're studying, me and my team, we're there to support any ambition that they have. And sometimes there's no ambition. Sometimes there's mild ambition. And sometimes there's really clear ideas about what somebody may do after their university education.
Okay. So that would be my very first question to you. We know that, and it's well known that the transition between a university student and all the theory that he gets at the university, etc., and then he goes to the workplace, sometimes he's a bit lost. He's like thrown into the sea.
Yeah.
What do you see? We'll get to the controversial later on, but what do you see is some of the biggest challenges that a student has and the biggest challenges of a company to hire fresh grads?
Okay. So the challenges the students, I think, are so much changes from the point at which they start their education within a university environment. And let's not forget, they've gone through this trajectory of education since they were very, very young.
Yeah.
Okay. So they've gone from nursery to primary school to high school to then university. And throughout that time, what they're being told at all of those different levels varies. So when you're in high school, their job, the school's job is to make sure that you get to university. That's their job. Okay, whether that's the right thing or the wrong thing for the particular student, that's the job of the school. Once they're in university, what they're being told is you need to learn this, this, and this to be successful. Now, the way work has changed over the last, I would say, 10 years, there is no role that exists that somebody could pinpoint to unless it's super vocational, like medicine or sciences or pharmacy, where you can say you need to study this to be successful in this. And what they're seeing around them, often usually on social media, often on LinkedIn, is this eye of envy stuff. This person is doing, this person is an influencer. This person is doing something on social media. They have an e-commerce site on Instagram. And so this idea of what used to be work has completely changed. And so a student may say to themselves, why am I studying business management again for the next 4 years? And then what am I going to do after that point? So I think the problem and the challenge that students are facing at the moment is that even when they don't have a clear idea, they need to be comfortable in being able to change their mind or make new decisions.
Yeah, to adjust on the go.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's the thing, and I think now we can hit the very first controversial element is, I know that when a fresh grad, after studying, let's say, business for 4 years or 3 years or whatever the amount of time that they do, they think they've acquired a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And then when they hit the workplace or they go to a company,
yeah.
they realize that most of what they learned
yeah.
is not truly applicable.
Yeah.
And this is very challenging for the company as well, because when a company hires a fresh grad, they expect him to come with at least something.
Yeah.
And then you realize that the only something is the mindset,
Mhm.
the attitude, and the willingness to learn and the willingness to absorb this new universe that they're in. If they have those, they will be successful.
Yeah.
But if they don't have it and they have a lot of knowledge, I feel that it's a recipe for disaster. And this is the point, I think, and that's why actually we're very proud to have signed an MOU with Ajman University, which is to get interns on board. And we've already started that.
Yeah.
Is for them to have a taste of how it works while working, and the difference of universes, I'm going to say, between university and the corporate life.
See, I would say part of I mean, there's two issues. We'll talk about the employer in just a second.
Yeah.
But we're dealing with an education system in all aspects, from kind of primary education to tertiary education, where the delivery has been the same. How you teach hasn't changed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you still have students going into a classroom. You still have them sitting behind a desk. For the most part, there are some pockets of really interesting practice. But normally what you find in a university environment is what you find in a school environment. And so there's no growing up happening between I finished high school, I'm now going to university, and I'm going to take ownership for my learning. It's very difficult for a student to be able to feel like they can do that, because they're essentially going into a different version of a high school.
Yeah. And that's interesting. The other day I was watching a documentary.
Yeah.
And it's basically the concept of sitting in a classroom behind a desk in rows, very clearly defined, with the teacher being, the ultimate authority in the class, is way back in the early 1900s, late 1800s,
Yes.
where they would prep the student to go to work in the factories, and where everything is this. So you see that the society has evolved a lot on many, many fronts, but the educational system is lagging behind in this paradigm shift that is happening in the world that we are in.
I'm glad you used the term paradigm shift, because that's something that we've been talking about within Ajman University for the last 18 months, or as far as long as I know that I've been there. Because what we're trying to do is create an environment where responsibility is upon the student to learn, and how they learn is part responsibility of the university, but they also have to take some lead in what they're going to do next. And so Masar Career Excellence was kind of born. And this idea that this is not going to be a university where you come in and put your hand up behind the desk and say, please can I answer the question? Rather, and this is my point about employers, if they want graduates or those who are transitioning into the world of work to be ready for them, for the universe, as you put it, that they're about to enter, they have to be involved in this.
Absolutely. And I think this is the old way of thinking, was that prepping the student to become a professional in the workplace, the entire responsibility falls on the university, when actually this is not the case. There is a major responsibility from the employer as well to play a role during that university period to get them ready, rather than throwing them in the deep end once they graduate. So, and I think some companies are starting to realize that, at least here at Tafaseel we do. And that's why we are very pushy when it comes to acquiring interns and everything, because we feel that there is a social responsibility on our end to give a taste to the student of what they're going to get when they graduate.
Yeah. And I think that's really, so the other aspect for employers is, so this idea of industry academia being loggerheads and not working together, and one is the problem and the other one is not the solution, has been going on for years. Okay, and it's not exclusive to any region. It happens in every
worldwide.
Yeah. What is exclusive to the employer is their expectations at the point of which they're starting to hire. So what I've seen, not just in this, not just in the GCC, but also in the UK, although that practice is now starting to change, is when, okay, I'm an employer and I'm ready to hire graduates. So examples that we've seen within the university that I'm at now, within Ajman University, employer says, I want a student with a GPA of 3.5 or 3.5 and above. They have to have done business marketing. They have to live here. They have to do it. What's the role? It's an intern. Why does somebody need to have a GPA of 3.5 for an experience that they may have with an organization? So I think some of these criteria are not only are they unrealistic sometimes, they're not necessary
At all.
right?
At all, because you have some student, and I actually kind of fall into that category when I was in university. I didn't have the highest of GPA. What's important, and again, me as leading a team, when I hire someone, I don't care where they studied, honestly. I don't care what their GPA is. The very first thing that I hone in onto into the interview are two main pillars. Is my gut feeling plays a big role in it, but it's how they communicate their ideas, their level of technical understanding of the role, but the person behind it and the mindset. I have a very interesting story. It's a very long story. I'll make it as short as possible. I was based in Saudi Arabia. I went to Lebanon for a vacation where my family is. I went to the pharmacy to get Pampers and milk for my kids. And the pharmacist came and told me, I want to change my career. He's 30 years old. He's been facing some business difficulties. And time after time, I would talk to him and I liked the vibes that he gave and I liked the hunger that he had. And it just so happened that at the time I was hiring a fresh, newly communication team from scratch, from entry level all the way to director level. And I'm like, what's the difference between him and a fresh graduate? He's going to learn everything from scratch. All the technical skills that nobody would learn in the university, he's going to learn it on the job. And he has the right mindset. I hired him. He came in as a communication executive at the age of 30, 31, when usually you do this at the age of 21, 22. He turned into a superstar. I changed my job. He came to my new job. I hired him there. When I left the second job, he got promoted. So it's not like it's me who's, protecting him. I went to my third job. He went there and now he's like a senior marketing manager in a multinational FMCG company and he's a superstar there.
So tell me something, the kind of common denominator in all of that, I'm guessing so you can tell me, is this particular person cared about the thing that he was doing.
Yes, absolutely. He had hunger.
Yes. And so when you have the right attitude, when you have the right skills, the right attitude and the right mindset, all of the technical things, I don't care which job, I really don't.
You can learn it.
Unless we're talking medicine and we're talking
architecture.
Anything else can be done, especially in business. So if you know that you've got somebody who you're going to give their right arm to be successful, isn't that
you said it right?
Yeah, isn't that better than having somebody who's got a GPA of 4 but doesn't know how to have a conversation?
Yeah, the guy was a pharmacist and complete opposite end of the spectrum, which is marketing. And it's not like he was in a local company, or no disrespect to local companies, but he's in a multinational. It's like I cannot say the brand obviously, but it's a major worldwide brand that everybody knows about. And he's so successful there, and he's still there now, and he's being promoted and more responsibilities and this and that, and he's still based in Saudi Arabia.
But this is my point about employers. If there were more employers who are willing to think differently about how they bring people into their business, regardless of sector, they would find less of an issue. There was, when I was back in London, there was a piece of research that I did with University of London back in the day. And it was to understand the effectiveness of something like an assessment center as a role that it has within a recruitment process. I know many companies use assessment centers, and I understand why so many of them use them, because it's a way to filter down good applicants. However, the relationship that we saw as part of this research from how somebody performs at assessment center to how they perform 3 months into the job, guess what the relationship was at that point? 0.004%. So somebody could be amazing in the assessment center,
Wow.
but awful in the job 3 months down the line. And somebody could be awful in the assessment center, but be amazing in the job 3 months down the line, which tells you if you're going to use these processes, it needs to be part of a wider holistic approach to bringing people.
That's actually very funny you're saying that. Just today, this morning, I was having a talk with one of my team members.
Yeah.
And he's a very, very, very talented individual, extremely smart, extremely bright. And we were having a heart-to-heart talk. And I told him, you are very smart, you are very capable, but you rely too much on your smartness and your capacity. And that if you work harder, that the sky is the limit. And I gave him an analogy and I told him, somebody else that would be 10 times less intelligent than you and 10 times less smart than you, but works 10 times more than you and has the right mindset that want to improve and to push himself and, he would better achieve than you do. So imagine if you put that effort in where you can reach. So again, for me, it's like a combination of not only the smartness, but the willingness and the street smart and that envy to be able to deliver. And actually, I'm looking here behind you. There's a picture of our partner and group CEO, Mr. Ahmed Khalir. He started as a contact center agent 15 years ago. And now he's the group CEO of a company that has 8 different companies, that has done regional expansion. He's actually now in New York and Canada to open our offices there. And it just tells you that if you have the right mind, nobody taught him how to be a group CEO.
Yeah.
Nobody told him how to run such a huge business that has 2,000 plus employees. And yet he's doing an amazing job. And we can see it here. Which one? This one right there. CEO of the year in 2023.
So we have the privilege of potentially entertaining him at some point in the next couple of years on campus, right? But imagine the impact that somebody like a CEO could have on students who are aspiring to be CEOs, find their own business, be successful in their careers, whatever success looks like for them, right? However they're defining it. That accessibility, having employers work with us, businesses work with us as a university to not just say, this is not working. Universities are not helping us. We can't find the graduates that we need. We then have to go outside. We have to bring people in from internationally. Rather than that, let's have businesses. And we are fortunate to do this at Ajman University with yourselves and some others coming to us and say, how about if we did this inside the curriculum and outside the curriculum? What about if we did this to support students and graduates?
Sorry to cut you off on this very particular point. And throughout our dealings between Tafaseel Group Holding and Ajman University, and I was telling you this earlier when we were having the coffee, is that I really feel that from Ajman University, there is a true willingness to be able to adjust to this new world that we're living in, to be able to provide the students much better tools to succeed in their careers.
Yeah.
But there's a big but, is unfortunately, I don't feel that many universities are hopping onto that train.
Yeah.
And Ajman University, I think, is one of the top universities in the UAE, if not in the region, and the worldwide standing as well is quite impressive. We were discussing it the other day.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important that there is awareness on this and acceptability from different universities that this is the right way to go. And I feel that this change is very slow to happen for new universities to start, on the same mindset as the Ajman University has to prepping the students.
It's very difficult to look at the sector and say, what can we do differently? Because if we're going to continue teaching in the way that we've been, if the teaching and learning experiences come to a classroom and look at a PowerPoint, it's like I said, there are pockets of good practice. There are some institutions that are doing really interesting practical learning, and we're moving in that direction as well. And we've got some really good examples of it. The thing that I would say about a university is let's not forget, on some level, it's also still a business. Yeah. So we sell courses to students. How we sell those courses. So in Ajman's case, we were the first university in the region, not just the UAE, to accept expat students. So when we talk about diversity and we're talking about what the future of what the world of work looks like, we have it on campus. We have every nationality you can think of, every language spoken you can think of, every disability that you could think of across the spectrum, diverse in all ways, including levels of income. We have students who are disadvantaged to students who have no worries on that side of their life. When you have that level of diversity, you have a duty of care as a university provider, as an education provider. And I think this is probably what stands out at Ajman University is that I've not met somebody within the university who doesn't genuinely care about the work that they do. And this is my point that we were talking about earlier, your example of this pharmacy person changing career. When you have somebody who's willing to go above and beyond for their students, and you take my example, I moved my family from one part of the world to another because I genuinely believe that there is a role for us to play in how we change education.
And I think this was spearheaded by your chancellor, Mr. Karim Cheaib.
Yeah, so
who he's the one pushing for this.
Yes, and pushing for it for sure. But it's a university-wide responsibility. He can push, I can push.
Yeah,
we can have really good examples of employers who push with us, but we need more and more and more, and we need students to take ownership.
But actually, like you said, it's a business.
Yeah.
Right? So if your premise to sell to potential students to be able to increase the amount of students that you have, and if you tell them, I'm going to better prepare you to the workspace than any other university, I still don't get why other universities don't hop onto that. It's a win-win situation.
I should caveat. So we moved from private university profit status to private university non-profit status, which is huge for us, because what it means is that we are in a really flexible environment now, platform that we can use to change the way education is.
But even if you for the profit universities, I mean, that might not be applied to Ajman University, but even other universities that are there just for the money, which I personally think it's a shame that, the entire premise is making money rather than the entire premise is to educate and to prepare. You have a winning formula.
Yeah.
And some universities like Ajman University are doing it. Why don't you do it? And what does it take? All it takes is willingness. All the departments are there. All the people are there. We're not telling you to invest more money. All we're telling you is outreach to companies, talk to companies, and get them their buy-in. And there's a lot of companies out there that are very hungry for this. Okay? Get their buy-in and that's it. It's not like we're coming and telling you, well, you know what? We're telling you to reduce your bottom line in terms of income and profitability by a couple of million every year so that you can apply this model. No, not at all. So it's very frustrating, to be honest.
I can imagine from the employer side, it will be really frustrating. And from a student perspective, when you're thinking, if you're about to think about a university education now, and you're thinking, where should I go and where should I study? Some of that may come down to how much it costs to study. A lot of the decision-making, in my opinion, should be, can the university provide me with an experience that's going to be rich enough that helps me define my success in the future?
Absolutely.
Now, for me, and I've taken this in all of my jobs, in all of my career so far, especially since I've become a parent. If it's not good enough for my kids, it's not good enough. So if my children will go into Ajman University, is it good enough? And so I have to work with that mindset every single day.
Absolutely. And one point on this is I want to talk about one of the interns that we've gotten on board, Arya.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if we are to put all emotions aside, from our perspective as a business, we got her into a 4 months internship, 16 weeks.
Yeah.
It allows me rather than having someone hire someone, get them on the payroll, see what they do for 3 months during the probation period, whether whatever we saw in them during the interview translated, like you were mentioning earlier, right? Here I have somebody that I have a chance not only to teach and to prep, but to see if, it's someone that we want to hire. And she's on the right path. No promises, obviously. But she's on the right path of being a top candidate to be hired the second she graduates. And at that point, once we're going to hire her as a full-time employee, that transition period of university to this has already been done. She's learned, she's understood the environment that she's in, etc. And it's a win-win situation for us as well. And obviously for the university, because the university, it's a great success story that their interns are being hired by the companies, etc., etc. So yeah, again, that's another win-win situation for everyone.
I think it's win-win. And I think, but the problem that can happen is where businesses might be doing this with universities is, let's give the university 5 or 10 internships per year. This idea of transitioning students into being successful beyond their graduation can't work if you're only ever going to give 5 or 10 internships per year. It has, like I was saying before, they have to be really integrated in the relationship with the university, from the point of what the student will do in year 1, how they can advise on what our curriculum looks like.
Absolutely.
Do we need to redesign it?
Absolutely.
Do we need to tweak it? How can they help it in the latter stages of somebody's 4 or 5 year degree? All of those things are easily done. If an employer is willing to invest some time in a partnership like we have and think about what's best for their bottom line, like you just described, you've got essentially a pilot case for 4 months to know whether it's going to be a cost-effective hire.
And and that's the thing. But there's another factor. There is a very important responsibility that lies on the employer when they receive an intern. The good old ways of doing internship, and we've all done it. You were an intern, I was an intern, where you go to a company and you're the intern and nobody gives you time, nobody, prep you. It's like, you just sit here in silence and listen, and you know what I mean? And we got the intern. Like you just said, we tick the box. Well, I think the proper way to do things, and this is what we've been trying to do, is that even before the intern joined, she received a document for the 16 weeks that she's going to be with us. Every single week, what is she going to be doing? What will be her responsibilities? What is expected from her? Every single meeting she is on, she is encouraged to participate, and in some cases they're thrown into the deep end on purpose to prep them. And I think there is a major responsibility from the employer to have an effective and fruitful internship, rather than someone coming in and after 4 months going out and looking themselves in the mirror and it's like, what did I learn? I didn't learn much, So
because we can't complain about the teaching and learning experience in a university environment if the same is going to be repeated in a work environment.
Absolutely.
So both of those things need to change. If you want to talk, go back to your question from the very beginning, is how do you prep university students to transition into work? I think some of that has to come down to self-responsibility from the student. I think the university obviously has a major role to play in how we prepare them and how we support them, and that they know that they have the confidence and what I would call the leaning. They can lean on us as an institution until they find their feet. If they can't feel like they can do that, then they're going to be in a situation where they feel very, very alone. So we have a duty of care to support. But then if we want universities and employers to work together, it cannot be a he said, she said.
It needs to be a teamwork. It just needs to,
and the more collaboration we can ensure.
Absolutely.
In that way.
Effective collaboration. And I think this will be a good ending to our podcast today, although I would love it to go even more. And please, from now, I'm telling you, prepare yourself for another episode, because there's so much more to be talked about. It's such a interesting subject to so many different people. I hope it was some nice insights for both university students and for universities to spearhead such a change. And I think the learning is um, both parties need to be willing to put in the necessary efforts for this way of doing things to succeed.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, both parties will benefit from this.
Let's not be prescriptive. Let's come up with some really creative ideas on how this can work.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, Ajman Mohsen. It was really nice having you. I wish we had so much more time. I really that this is a conversation that can.
Yeah, we'll never see
how yeah. No. But please get ready. We're gonna have another episode coming soon. So how about both of us? We say bye to our audience. See you, everyone. Again, another exciting episode of G Talks. See you soon. I hope you enjoyed it. And hey, why not? Let's be Ajman University. Feel a case study on how to prep students. All right. Bye-bye. See you.